Weekly Show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to Alana Frost and Christina Myles from GulfQuest Museum in Mobile and author Christy Pickering with a song from this month's guest band, Tyler Livingston and the Absolutes. Now here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Future is so cool, you guys gotta wear shades. Is that thing how that goes? Welcome to everyone at home in our studio audience to The Weekly Show. I am your host, David J. Maloney, and to my right, subbing in for the Mogiles, it is the Sunglass, Tyler Livingston, and the Absolutes. In Jacksonville, Florida, a 32-year-old female high school music teacher was arrested for hooking up with an underage student. Police say she orchestrated the arrangement, which began with an overture. Intelligence officials say there are ways you can tell if your neighbors are terrorists. For example, instead of Happy Valentine's Day, they say Death to America. We're going there again. So the Empress of the Seas cruise ship rescued two fishermen whose boat broke down in the Caribbean Sea. The men said they were grateful to be taken aboard, but they found the ship's photographers ridiculously pushy. Oh, you didn't like that one? Okay. We'll give it another try then. The Empress of the Seas cruise ship rescued two fishermen whose boat broke down in the Caribbean Sea. The men had prayed they'd be rescued, but once aboard the ship, wished they had booked a larger cabin. No, okay. Then we'll go with, how about this one? The Empress of the Seas cruise ship rescued two fishermen whose boat broke down in the Caribbean Sea. Amazingly, after one day aboard the luxury liner, the men gained 10 pounds each. According to a new study, since the year 2000, the number of cosmetic surgeries has increased 115%. And that was just on the Kardashians. And on this day in 1879, I love this joke. And in this day in 1879, inventor Thomas Edison demonstrated his incandescent light bulb in Menlo Park, New Jersey. Edison was widely recognized as America's greatest inventor. Well, until that My Pillow guy came along. If you've never watched The Weekly Show before, please keep watching. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. First up tonight, we've got Alana Frost and Christina Myles with the state-of-the-art GulfQuest Museum in Mobile, Alabama. After that, we've got a local author who's doing some truly fantastic work for women across the country. Here to talk about her wonderful book, Courage, Miss Christy Pickering. And then, to cap off the night, we've got a brand new song from Tyler Livingston and the Sunglassed Absolutes coming your way. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Our first guests tonight are part of one of the only national maritime museums dedicated to the Gulf of Mexico. The museum is doing fantastic work for the city of Mobile and for those across the coast, so please give it up for Alana Frost and Christina Myles with GulfQuest. So how are both of you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing pretty good.
So tell us a little bit about what kind of attraction GulfQuest is.
It's really a multifaceted attraction. It has an education aspect. We offer field trips to pre-K through 12. We're just open to the public on a regular basis. We have over 90 exhibits. A lot of them are very interactive and immersive, and it covers every topic you could think of related to the Gulf of Mexico, from commerce and container shipping and the history behind that to ancient archaeology and just what happens day to day on the port of Mobile, the working port of Mobile.
Now, it's my understanding that, the museum is really one of the only ones on the entire Gulf Coast dedicated specifically to the Gulf Coast, isn't it?
Yes. It is. We market ourselves. I know that there are other maritime museums on the Gulf Coast, like there's the Seafood Industry and Maritime Museum here around Biloxi, but we're the only one that's just dedicated to basically a broad picture of the Gulf of Mexico region. So economics, environment, geography, culture, history, we're very interdisciplinary. We cover all of that.
And it's not just for Mobilians. I mean, it
No,
covers
it's for the whole Gulf Coast.
Whole Gulf Coast.
Yes, one of the first things you see when you enter our museum is a depiction of the Gulf Coast from Florida all the way to Mexico. And it shows different unique artifacts from all of the states, including Mexico in a whole. So different unique things about the Gulf Coast for all of that region.
What are some of the biggest exhibits that you guys have, biggest exhibits and attractions that you guys have?
So we have 8 decks of exhibits total, and it covers 90,000 square feet. It's supposed to be a life-size replica of a container ship, and it actually sits in a basin of 4 feet of water. And some of our top exhibits, my favorites, I'll mention them, and then Christina can add what she likes best. I like Take the Helm, which is our boat simulator on deck 5, and it also, you get a great view of the Port of Mobile and the mouth of Mobile River entering Mobile Bay. I think it's the best view in the Mobile area to me. And I also like Ocean Planet, which is a huge 6 foot in diameter, 60-pound model of planet Earth, and you can basically superimpose different Earth science data ranging from ocean currents, so you can see the Gulf Stream, to wildfires, to earthquakes and the northern lights, and the presenter can kind of manipulate that data and explain it to the public.
So when you say simulator, is that kind of like when you go to certain, like there'll be airplane museums and you'll be able to act like you're in the airplane? This is like you're feeling like you're in the boat?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. In fact, there is a rubber floor because people do occasionally get seasick. Yeah, especially the kids, because they like to go a little crazy on it. We have to kind of make sure that they don't do too many donuts at the beginning of the session. What do you think?
Oh yeah, when I first started, that was one of the first exhibits that I actually got to try, and I did get seasick.
Did you?
Yeah.
Now you said field trips. You guys do field trips and stuff too, huh?
Yeah, and we want as many as we can get. We love to have 3 or 4 a week. We've been getting about 2 a week since October, and most schools come about 9 a.m. through 1 p.m. and built in, we make them an itinerary. We offer scavenger hunts for all grade levels. Some of them are weather focused, some are focused on shipping and navigation. So, we recently got some bookings from Baldwin County's, it's a club, Future Business Leaders of America Club, because they wanted to look at the career aspect, the maritime industry part of the museum. So we can pretty much tailor it to whatever the teachers want, whether it's science or history or something more business or career focused.
Now you guys have some special education programs going on, and I think you got something coming up with the Clotilda too. Tell us a little bit about that, right?
Yes, so on February 9th, we are hosting kind of like an extension of the Clotilda event at GulfQuest. It's called Wade in the Water, and it's basically going to, its own separate event that they're hosting, part of the Africa Town Heritage, and it's an extension of them celebrating the fact that they found, this last slave ship.
Now, you've got another thing coming up, something about Prohibition in Mobile, right?
Yes, we are so excited about that event. We're doing it in April. One of the things I'm most excited about is that we'll actually have local bartenders from the Mobile area doing special cocktails that were popular back in the 1920s.
Oh, wow. And you guys have been kind of instrumental in trying to create a new permanent exhibit about Alabama's underwater forest.
Yes.
Right?
We haven't added a new permanent exhibit in years. So I shared on our Facebook page an article from 2018 by Ben Raines about the discovery of the underwater forest. I think it's 60 miles south of Gulf Shores. and just posted on Facebook, just as something for people to look at for the day. Well, it got like 300 people share it, liked it, 1,000 people shared it. I was just shocked by the response. So I thought to myself, wouldn't this be cool to put this in the museum? Maybe get a piece of the wood, maybe put it in an aquarium or something like that, and then, explain the science behind it and, what this means for the future if we have sea levels rising the way that they're projected to by the end of the century. So that's in development. We hope to get that installed within a few months.
Well, I appreciate both you guys coming on. Before we go to the break, can you tell our viewers how they can follow you guys on social media? Is there a website? And we'll put it basically right there.
So our website is GulfQuest.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, at GulfQuest, on Instagram and on Twitter, all at GulfQuest, and we post daily and weekly, so you'll hear about all of our upcoming events and exciting news that we have for 2020.
And I'll add one thing. Do stay tuned to Facebook within a couple weeks for the Prohibition event. We want to put that up in tickets, which would range from probably $10 to $15. That's still in the works, but stay tuned for that because that's going to be a great event. And the history of Prohibition in Mobile was absolutely wild and very colorful. We have two great speakers for that event. One's a professor, Dr. Dorr from the University of Alabama. The other one is a local author, John Sledge, who recently published a book about the Gulf of Mexico. So yeah, stay tuned to Facebook and see what's in store, the events that we hold each month.
Follow GulfQuest on social media, and we will be right back after these messages. Our second guest tonight has such an incredible story. Having experienced a horribly abusive relationship, she managed to fight her way out of that environment, and now she helps other women and girls across the nation do the same. She's here to talk about her story and her amazing new book, Courage. Please give a warm weekly show welcome to Christy Pickering. So, Christy, tell us about your new book, Courage.
It's a book I wrote and published in August of 2018. It is my story of living in a 21-year abusive relationship with my first husband. It's about what I learned and what I'm sharing now with others so they won't make my mistakes.
Why did you initially decide to write the book?
For a couple of reasons. One of them was that I had been speaking at universities in the state of Mississippi to young women and sometimes young men, because it happens both ways, unfortunately, about the subject of abuse. And I realized after this hour-long speech that I would have 10 or 20 people standing there to talk to me, and some of them crying, and I really realized I couldn't give them enough in an hour. So I decided I needed to write the book so I could give them more of what I had learned.
Now, people always talk about the signs, the red flags. When you have a situation like that, I mean, were there early warning signs as early as maybe even when you were dating?
There were a couple. He wasn't abusive to me when we were dating, but there were signs that I should have seen. One of them was that he had a temper. He lost his temper a couple of times, and I saw that when we were dating in college. And also he began to become controlling. And it's okay for someone to be kind and considerate and meet you after class and things like that. But when they start stalking you to a certain extent, although, they can do it by looking at your phone, or they can do it by just asking people where you are. And I didn't realize that it was controlling till later, till I had more information. But they were signs.
Now, a lot of times people don't even realize what's happening until they get kind of to a safer place. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of look back on it. What are some of the different ways abuse can manifest itself, I guess?
The different types of abuse?
Yeah.
Well, there are several different types, and a lot of them I didn't even know were abuse. I didn't even know that what I was suffering was abuse until he actually hit me, because I thought that's the only abuse, but it's not. There is verbal abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's financial abuse, and there's sexual abuse. I mean, and unfortunately, I experienced all of them.
Why do you think abusers do the things that they do? Is it because hurt people want to hurt people, or is it much more complex than that?
More complex than that. There's a man that wrote a book. Lundy Bancroft is a man that has spent his life, psychologist, has spent his life studying abusive men, not because he thinks he can change them, because he says in his book that 99% of them will not change. But he wanted to understand why they do what they do, so he could tell women, this is what it looks like, this is what they say, but this is what they really mean. And the reason they do what they do is because it gets them what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. Most abusers are narcissists, and the most important thing to them is what they want. And that's why they do what they do, and that's why they can forgive themselves for all the bad things that they do, because that's irrelevant as long as they get what they want, unfortunately.
What are some of the early signs
of an abuser?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so they are controlling, they become jealous, they try to get an early commitment from their partner, they try very quickly to isolate you, and they will try to isolate you from your friends and your family. And then they take control of your whole life, everything that you do. The finances, even though I made the money, I was the one who had the career that made the money, he controlled all the finances. They try to control everything.
What gave you the courage to finally walk?
Well, the thing that really pushed me out the door, the thing that I describe in the book, and the picture kind of does depict the day that we were leaving, but he held a knife at my throat in front of my kids and was screaming and yelling at me, and my son was going to get the gun. So that was the last. How old was your
son at the time?
16.
Okay.
And my daughter was 10. And, but I was seeing my son turn into him. He was starting to talk down to his sister, talk badly about women, kind of smack his sister sometimes, and I would get on to him, and I thought, oh, no. I've got to stop this. People sometimes, they say that you should stay for the children, not in this kind of relationship. I left. He didn't understand it. My son, he was not happy with me, but today he understands because he knows he's a good man. He's a good father. He's a good husband, because I left and showed him what good looks like.
What action points would you give to people who are in an abusive situation right now?
As far as how to get out?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. You have to, what I tell people when they ask me about that, and I'm not advocating divorce, but if your abuser is not going to change and will not change and will not go to therapy, then you need to find your happiness and go on. But I tell them to plan for the worst, hope for the best, because you have to assume that that abuser is going to snap. And if he or she does, you want to know that you've thought of everything. And I did that when I left. What I did is I wrote a note to my ex-husband the day I was leaving, and he didn't know I was leaving. He went to work, and I left the note, and I took the kids, and I was gone for 3 months. And I wasn't going back. But I told him I wanted a 6-month separation because I knew I needed to give him time to accept it. To be able to accept this.
Because if he doesn't accept it, you have to worry about repercussion.
But I still worried about him snapping. I called the sheriff in our county, and I called the chief of police. I knew both of them. I'd been the treasurer for the sheriff when he ran for office, and the chief of police was my client. So I called them and I said, look, here's what's going on. I'm leaving. It's scary. I really think he's coming after me. If I call you, here's my number. Make sure you listen. And they did, and he did stalk me, but he never did come after me with a gun or anything. But he had told me 10 years before that he would kill me if I left him, and I believed him.
Well, and sadly, a lot of people don't have those connections that you have. So they don't even have the opportunity to be able to call somebody and say, to call a law enforcement. Because in my practice, I periodically get calls, even though it's outside of my practice area, from people who have those concerns and have those situations. Right. And they're like, and I've called the police, and the police say they can't do anything until he does something. And so I mean, when somebody has a situation like that, they don't have the connections. What can they do?
First of all, they can go to my website. My speeches that I give are called Girl, You Deserve Better, not because only women are abused, but the girl was me. I deserved a lot better. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you can go to my website. I have a resources page that tells you all of these places you can go to. There are national hotlines, there's local hotlines, but there are also local shelters. Biloxi has a women's shelter. You can go there, you can stay there for free until they can help you find a place to go, and they can help you walk through how to get out of it safely. And so there are resources.
So one more time, the website, so we can post it right there.
The website is www.girlyoudeservebetter.com.
Christy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Just an amazing story. If anybody is going through anything like this, make sure you go out and get this book. Learn what you need to do. Go to her website. There's also a lot of other resources out there. Again, thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Christy Pickering.
Thank you so much.
Taking us home tonight, it's Tyler Livingston, the Absolutes, with Broken Showerhead.
Down to underwear, lips dressed in red. We didn't even use a bed. Oh, I remember the day, I can't remember the face of that crazy day. Woke up today, hostile to race, and all I'm left with was whoa. A broken showerhead. A broken showerhead, y'all. A broken showerhead. Grass stains on me. Jägermeister dripped on me. You got it. Let's make love on the beach. Make it. I can't remember the face of that crazy day. Woke up today, hostile to race, and all I'm left with was a broken shower.